My name is Gary Fairbank. I was born on Gibsontown Road in 1936 by a Dr. Reeser. He delivered a lot of babies for a bushel of crabs. I went to school at Tilghman Elementary, which was 6 grades. I went to Maryland University for probably no more than 4 months. Knew I did not want to go to college. Came home, went to work with my grandfather, who was a fisherman and an oysterman. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to work on the water. Made a lot of money, which lured me back to the water. The lure of the bay, it's the lure of the land, it's the lure of the water, it's the lure of catching seafood. They say once you get that oyster mud under your fingernails, you'll always come back.
Charles Woodrow Faulkner. My nickname is Woody. Well, I have lived here all my life. 16, had my first little boat at 16, and then I crab. Worked the water, done some carpenter work and that type of thing, but mainly on the water. And retired when I was about 65, and working harder now than I did then. Beautiful place to be. It was just a nice place to raise a family.
Well, I'm Captain Buddy Harrison. I was named after my grandfather. My correct name is Levin Faulkner Harrison III. And some of my customers, when they look at my license, charter boat license, they'll say, "There's no damn wonder they call you Buddy." Tilghman Island resident, lived on Tilghman Island all my life. I have made my living here out of charter fishing and buying and selling oysters, shucking oysters.
My name is John C. Kinnaman. I was born in Barnett. Went to school here in Tilghman, but I didn't finish 10th grade. I've only got 9 years, I guess, of education. I lived in a house with no running water. We only had electric in 2 rooms. We had a coal stove in the kitchen, a coal stove in the living room, had a pitcher pump in the kitchen. But when I left Tilghman and went in the Navy, it's a different world. Big change growing up on Tilghman.
We growed up in Paradise. I think it was a good place to grow up. I'm William Rowe, Jr. Every day I used to go down to where Tilghman Packing Company was. When school was out, I went down there every evening when I was a boy and waited for my dad to come in, fishing and oystering, whatever he was doing. And all the boats would come in there loaded with fish and oysters and put their catch out. Still remember going down there every day in the evenings, and I would help them clean their boats up and all, and they'd give you a little bit of money.
I'm Wilmer W. Fluharty Jr., born in Oxford, 1922. Halloween, in fact, my mother told me. We moved to Tilghman when I was 3 years of age. My father had bought a piece of marsh on Knapp's Narrows. I can't remember that far back, but actually when I moved there was nothing there. Just some water and marsh grass. My father, he lined it with logs parallel to one another and made a little bit of a bulkhead, and that's where that boatyard started. And over the years, it developed into what you see now that is Severn Marine. Nearly all my life is spent in that boatyard. None of us around there had ever left home for very long.
My name's Stanley Larimore. I've been a skipjack captain. I've lived on Tilghman all my life. In the house we're living in now, I was born in that living room. Good Lord, I had boats ever since I've been 7 or 8 years old. My father, he'd done everything to try to discourage me. I guess I wanted to go to work on the water. When I dredged oysters with him, he'd give me all the worst jobs in the world. I think he was trying to send me back to school, but didn't work.
My name is Loretta Larimore. We met in the late 40s, I guess. My brother introduced me to him at a carnival. And we went up in the Ferris wheel and had a ball, and one thing led to another. And here we are.
My name is Fraser Stanley Covington. Everyone has always called me Stanley. I was born in 1923 on Wharf Road. In fact, that's where my great-grandfather came to this island, right in that area. That's where the canning houses were, and the Avalon post office, and the little shell island that was made out there. And it was always a lot of industry right around there, and something to do or something to watch being done. Boat building and everything there.
My name is Rose Garvin. I married a Tilghman Islander that I met at the University of Maryland. We were students there. And I moved to Tilghman. I've lived here since 1954, but I'm not a native. And that's funny, I think, but it's very serious to them. You have to be born and bred here to be a native. Eventually, in late 54, I became a teacher at Tilghman, and I taught here for 30 years. A lot of the things that the children did at school were things that their parents and grandparents probably did.
My name is William E. Cummins. I've been a resident of Tilghman Island for so many years. I'm 82 years old. I've lived here most of my life. Worked with my father before me, and I loved the water and enjoyed every minute of it. The lessons that I learned from my father were so marvelous to me. He wasn't an educated man. In fact, I doubt if he went over 2 or 3 years to school, but he was so intelligent and such a good teacher that I will never forget him. I had one of the most wonderful childhoods that anybody could imagine. Soft crabbing. I used to love to go soft crabbing. That brings back a lot of memories. A couple boys would get together, tow a basket, go around the shore and catch a soft crab. That was one of the main things I loved doing, yes. But you never see this anymore. This is something that you just don't see it. And this is what made me to start into art. I was seeing all these things pass me by, and so I made up my mind when I was 45 years old that I was going to do this for me, to make these pictures to show the things we had lost. Everything, I think, was done from memory, wasn't from a photograph. For me, I was never lost for a subject, because what I was doing was putting down my life, really. Anything I could go back and get in my mind that I used to do as a youngster or as I was growing up, I always had a picture there waiting for me in my mind, never run out of material. I think I got it all, but I've started another picture now, so I'm getting a little old for this, but I love to do it, I really do.
I think in my time when I was a young child, kids could do whatever they wanted to do and felt safe. And when I mean do whatever they wanted to do, after school we'd go down to the bay shore and go swimming.
When we were in school and the school bell rang to let us out, everybody jumped up, all the young kids. We'd run down this lane called Buzzard Lane. You want to be the first one in the water. And all the way down there, you'd be taking your clothes off and throwing them on a tree, racing to get there first.
And the kids that grew up here were a little bit harder. They were pretty tough kids that grew up. They grew up outdoors.
Well, I grew up in a rowboat when I was a kid. I always had a rowboat. My grandfather built me a new one and gave me when I was 11 or 12 years old.
For recreation, there was no limit. We could fish, crab, oyster, paddle a boat around the shore and take a sheet of metal with us and some matches and vinegar and salt and pepper and pick up oysters by hand and steam them over this flat plate on a fire. Just anything that crossed your mind, it was there to do. That just beat about anything you could ever have. When you get as old as I am, look back on it, you realize how valuable that was. I used to love to go with my father to the pound nets. That was a great event for me. Thousands and thousands of fish being what we call pursed up in one corner of a net and then lifted into the big boats. That was a great thrill for me. Every chance I'd get, I'd take off from school and go with them doing that.
Gosh, when I was a kid, you could stand up on the bow of the boat and see, you could see all out on the water, you could see the crabs crawling on the bottom.
I think it just comes natural. I ran the shore with the dip net when I was real little, shoving the net through the grass, catching those big soft crabs.
I think we got about a nickel apiece for them. My, that was a lot of money back in those days. Because I was born, I guess, during the end of the Depression, It wasn't any money on the island at all.
When I was a little boy, you could go down at the crab picking house and all the children could whack claws, they called it. The boys would go down there and they'd whack claws and get paid for the claw meat that they picked out.
There was a lot of baseball played too in those days, growing up as a kid.
Became a fanatic about baseball, I guess, when I was maybe 14 or 15. We had a team called the Tilghman Giants, a good group of ball players. We started that team in 1948 or 49.
First time I remember playing, we went down to the Tilghman Packing Company, played there in the field. And we used to win the championship every year, the team from here.
There was usually a baseball game on Saturday and on Sunday, after church, of course. There was baseball in every big space you could imagine. They were the kings of the island, the baseball players were.
I was scouted by New York Yankees and the New York Giants when I was 14 years old, and I had a chance, and they came back 2 years later. In fact, they came back every year, and I wasn't even playing ball, I was fishing. And now there's no commercial fishing, much goes on anymore, and I look and ball players make millions, and every day I think, wonder if I was good enough to make it. And if I could go back, I would go back to school and I'd find out anyhow if I was good enough to play baseball. I started commercial fishing with my dad when I was about 10 years old. And he fished 7 days a week. I'm 75 years old and I've been clamming for 53 straight years. I've been out clamming. I made my first home in 1955 in one day commercial fishing. I made $4,800 one Saturday. I bought the house with it and had $300 left. And that's why I was attracted to commercial fishing. To me, it was like going on a picnic. When I go out right today, I don't care if I ever come in. I just like it out on the water.
I started working on the water when I was about 12, 13 years old. And I was always a little bit of a maverick. I would try anything. I had a wonderful boat, 42 foot long, 24 years old, and didn't fear the water one bit. And I think working on the water, the younger you are, you have no fear of it. After you get older, then you learn to respect it a little more. Because every storm that ever come up to be, I think I got caught into. Had some close calls.